Hello and welcome back to the Mayhem Lab. In this episode we're going to talk about Bluetooth and how to mix the old with the new-ish.
And I'm also going to do a little demo on controlling like a MiniPwner or other serial device with a Bluetooth module from your phone.
Alright, so on this episode we're going to start off by looking at some game controllers. So the premise to this was I do a little bit of traveling for my work, so I wanted to take a game controller along with me because I'm old and I like the old 8-bit or 16-bit Nintendo games and Sega games. So I went did some searching and I found that Adafruit actually has a really nice product called the Bluefruit, if you can see that. But so they actually make a really nice little kit that you can get online right from them. What I decided to do is modify the kit slightly so it's a little bit more convenient for me. And what you can see here in our close-up is this is a fully assembled controller, one that I've already done, one that I baked earlier. You'll notice basically what we're doing here. Let's see if I can peel this back a little bit. So you've got the Bluetooth, the Adafruit Bluefruit controller here, battery pack, of course. Got the charger connection, on-off switch, and then some LEDs on top along with the reset button. So that was some of the modifications that I made. If you look at the Adafruit site, which I'll put a link in the description of the video, so you can build your own. It's pretty slick. I think it cost about $40 or $50. Not too bad. But the one difference that I did is I added in the charging port, which was I think an additional $5 or $6 versus the cable that they have. And then I also added the LED lights. And the reason for the LED lights, let's switch it on. This one indicates that it's got power. One indicates when it's charging, and one indicates when it actually is fully charged.
Does the Bluetooth module have the charging circuitry on? Is that where that comes from?
No, that's a good question. So that's actually all controlled right through the little charging.
Oh, that was that $5 module you were talking about. Okay.
So if you look at the actual build sheet that Adafruit provides, they have a little cord that sticks out of the top of this, and then it's like a little Bluetooth cord, and you can plug it in. But I was afraid of it getting ripped off because I'm rough on my stuff. So I decided to kind of do something a little bit more internal and added the micro USB. So an extra $5 and a little bit of X-Acto work to get, a little bit of X-Acto work to get that in there if this thing will focus. But that was pretty easy. I had some LEDs laying around, so I didn't have to buy any of those. And then a lot of soldering. So one thing I wanted to show, this one I made a year and a half ago. And if you'll notice where they're actually soldered, it's kind of hard to see, but so these are the buttons. Like this would be your standard 4D pad, right? And if you take a look, I had to scrape away some of the solder, or excuse me, some of the shielding to solder on to the actual button. And I ran into a lot of problems with soldering actually over top of some of the buttons, if you can see that, and the game controller wouldn't work. So the connections wouldn't actually come down and seat correctly. So that was quite a learning curve to get that all figured out. Now it's the second one that I'm building. My brother-in-law requested I build him one, so I thought I would learn from my mistakes. I bought another controller kit. What's really slick about this one is, if you take a look, there are little dots right next to the control pads that were really convenient for soldering. So I don't know if that's something that they added on, or if this was just the luck of the draw and I got this one out of the bin. I'm not sure, but this one was much nicer to solder to. So, and that's pretty much it. A lot of soldering, some cords, but pretty easy to do project, fun project. I'll put a wiring diagram on the site, so if you want to see how the modifications work, if you want to do those, you certainly can. But otherwise, Adafruit's got everything you need for this project.
So when you were talking about that, I was curious. Is the response time quick enough over Bluetooth? Like, do you see a delay in the game?
You know, that's a really good question. So I did actually see some delay in the game, kind of. It wasn't working too well. So actually, the emulator that I found works the best is one called Classic Boy. Certainly not, you know, they're not a sponsor. You know, but it seemed to work the best. You can actually, there's settings in there. You can go in and control the millisecond delay.
Okay.
So I could tune that back to where it's, you know, normal. You know, it's not an issue. But yeah, some of the other emulators where I would, you know, be playing Mario and hit the jump button, it would take, you know, a couple of milliseconds, a significant delay when you're, you know, playing a video game.
Yeah.
You know, it's a noticeable delay. So
Very cool.
yeah, it was a fun project.
All right. So we're going to switch spots so I can use the camera over there. And I was going to show you guys some work I did, just a little project I did. So as you know, Michael and I both work a lot on travel routers, a lot of different serial devices, the MiniPwner being the main one of those. And one of the things we wanted to do was see, is there a way to control that from a phone, a cell phone or something like that. The thought being, if I can, you know, hide a MiniPwner inside of a plant and then, you know, kind of control it from there, have an extra Wi-Fi adapter on it that's in monitor mode. I want to have the phone to see what the MiniPwner is seeing. And the way we found to do that was actually really easy. What we're using, I'm going to pull this apart here and show you all the different parts, is I've got, still recording over there, good. So the main thing we're using is this little Bluetooth serial module. It's called an HC06 or an HC05. They're super cheap, but it's just Bluetooth on one side and a serial port on the other side. When you get these things, if it's an HC05, the default baud rate is 38400. If it's an HC06, the default baud rate is 9600, which is a problem because on our MiniPwners, on these TP-Link routers we use, the default baud rate on the serial port is 19200. Or what is it?
115.
115.200. Sorry, 115.200. And so we got to change the baud rate on that little Bluetooth adapter to 115.200 so it can talk to the MiniPwner, the router. And the way we do that is with a USB to serial adapter. That's one of the kind of common ones out there. And so the first step I did with this was before I connected, and I'm not going to disconnect it because I have to reconnect it again, but before I connected the Bluetooth to the router, I connected it right to this serial adapter like that with, you know, RX to TX, ground and power connected together.
So they're reversed, right?
Yeah,
RX to TX.
Sorry, yeah, RX to TX and TX to RX. You reverse them.
Yeah.
So then I had the USB adapter I could plug into my laptop, and then plug the HC06 connect into that. And when I power it on, or it would power on when I plug it in the laptop, then you have to use AT commands to change the baud rate on the HC06 adapter. When that HC06 comes up, it's in like a program me / search mode, so it's got a little red blinking light, and that says, okay, I'm looking for someone to pair with. And while it's in that mode, you can send AT commands to it through just, we used PuTTY. And the command we had used was AT plus baud 8, which sends it to 115.200.
And actually, we did try PuTTY at first. Had PuTTY loaded on my Linux laptop. It didn't really like the paste command very well, so we ended up using screen. So I will put those notes on the site as well on how to connect to the serial interface using screen.
That's right. That's the other gotcha, because it expects the AT command, but you can't type AT plus because it wants the command all within like half a second. So you actually have to paste the whole command into your serial emulator.
Right.
But once you do that, that's the only step you need to do to program that HC06 is to tell it to be the same baud rate as whatever serial device, in this case this TP-Link router. So to show you all the parts then that we end up with, this is the HC06, and then this is the board out of the inside of a TP-Link 703N router. I've got power connected to the little USB power pin, I've got ground connected to one of the ground points there, and then the RX or TX on the two pins there.
So if you're wondering, the MiniPwner now is based off the 3040. This is the original.
Yeah, the old school.
The original MiniPwner.
Yeah, I was telling Michael this might be the actual first 703 I bought back in like 2012 when I started the MiniPwner project. Like, hey, it's cool, and that's why it's all torn apart too, because I've bricked it a few times and needed a serial port on it.
We all brick things.
Yes.
Far too often.
All right. So what have I done here? I've got a battery pack connected to the router. The router is actually now powering that module as well, and you can see, like I said, it's blinking.
Laptop locked.
Yeah, we're locked there, but it's still recording, so let it go. So that's blinking. The other thing that I have then is my phone, which I'm using a program called Bluetooth Serial, I think it's actually called Blueterm. And right now it's not connected, but we're going to tell it to connect to a device in insecure mode, connect to the HC06, so we can see it's connecting, and it says it's connected. And now and you see the blinking stopped on this, so that's good. Now I'm just going to push the reset button on the router, and you can see, because it's connected to the serial interface on the router, we can see it's actually scrolling up the boot stuff on the router. And once it's done booting, I can actually type in, commands here to manage the Wi-Fi or do whatever I want on the router after it's done booting. So pretty cool. I could use this pretty much on anything that's got a TTY serial port on the back of it. Another really cool thing you can do with this, you could connect this to an Arduino, and then you've got your Arduino, managed via Bluetooth, getting data from it or something like that. So that was my project.
Yeah. So doing all these Bluetooth projects and talking about Bluetooth over the last couple of weeks or so, we started thinking about what does Bluetooth do to us, and is there a way to protect ourselves, or useful Faraday cage ideas. So that's what we're going to be doing in our next episode, so stay tuned for that. But for now, thanks for viewing. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.